Hello everybody, Tim W. Rago here, Games, Movies, and Vlogs. How the hell is everybody? And welcome to another episode of KONGATHON Reviews. We have part 2 of Kong 05, and I am joined once again by fellow creature-obsessed fanatic and Instagram follower.
How's it going, folks? Jurassic World Monsterverse here. Welcome back to the Kongathon, and welcome back to another review. Welcome to this video, which is part 2 of my most favourite film of all time, King Kong 2005. And sit back and enjoy.
And now we come to the reason why everyone watches this fucking movie in the first place.
Yeah.
To see Skull Island itself. Now, the thing is, when it comes to the original movie, when it comes to 1933, the approach to Skull Island, when the Venture goes through all of that fog, it has this very dreamlike sort of, like you're...
I think it's called, like, when it comes to those certain sort of scenes in movies, they're called, like, dreamscape sequences.
Dreamscape.
Like that.
That's what was in the original. And then Peter Jackson, he did that great on the approach to Skull Island. He straight up did a dreamscape sequence that was, oh god. It really felt like a horror movie. The thing about Skull Island is, and yes, I gotta make this joke since you live in Australia. No offense to Australians, but Skull Island in this movie is pretty much like Australia. Everything wants to kill you or end your fucking existence. Cause,
son of a bitch! I was gonna tell that joke.
Well, and also Skull Island in this movie is hell. Peter Jackson took Skull Island and made it jungle hell. Like, he literally made this thing hell. Especially, there's the wildlife, which we'll get to in a minute. First of all, the people. Oh, God. The frickin' people that live on this frickin' place.
That's straight up demons. The first time, my story, actually... Do you want to tell your story about when you first saw this film?
Oh my god! Folks. In 2005, I think I was like 11 or 12 years old at the time, and the scene where every native in this movie, when I first saw it. Now, I saw this in broad daylight, by the way. I saw this in broad daylight because my grandpa is the reason why I'm a Kong fan, because he watches a lot of old movies, and when we found out that, because my grandpa loves Kong, like that's his creature movie. So when we found out that, when he told me that it was coming out in theaters and it had dinosaurs in it, I'm like, oh good, take me to go see it. So he does, and the natives, I didn't want to go to sleep that night. I did not want to go to sleep. I had my head under a blanket for like 3 hours straight before I even fell asleep. Oh my god, those natives are nightmare fuel. Like, even watching it now as an adult of 26 years old, it's still scary. Like, good god, the natives in this movie are just... wow. And, they are terrifying, but the whole thing is you can kind of see why they're like that, because for those of you who don't know, the lore that they sort of show through the visuals and the world building in this movie is, the lore of Skull Island was that it used to be bigger, but earthquakes is what made it look like it is now, and there was this great...
Yeah, just like all this natural erosion was making it smaller over time, and because the amount of world building in Skull Island, man, is really what sells this film for me, because so much thought went into the history behind the island as to why it is this, and why it looks like it the way it does now. It was either a bigger landmass itself, or it used to be a part of a bigger landmass.
Well,
but ever since that landmass has been, sinking into the sea, or if the island, I'm not too sure, I'll have to look into it again, but if the island divided, was bigger, but because it divided, it's splitting apart and is gradually it's just chunks of it are just sinking into the sea. And I've done it again. I've gone off it again. I've been talking too long, and now my brain's in the wrong direction. Damn it!
But what?
Don't you hate it? Don't you just hate it when you do that? When you talk about this one thing, and then there's several other things that are on the same topic but are off topic, and then you just lose you lose track of what you're supposed to say.
Basically, your train of thought just grinds to a halt and needs more coal to be fueled again. No, but...
Yeah, but you guys, you know what I'm trying to say anyway, but I'll probably get back to it at some point.
But what he's trying to say...
I think this is going to be a long podcast. So
exactly.
There's so much to say in it.
What he's trying to say is, like, what we're both trying to say is that the lore behind Skull Island in this movie is, it used to be the island used to be larger, and in the buildings, they actually show ancient ruins throughout this island. Like, they say there was this great city on the island at one point, like in the very center of the island, and the wall surrounded the city. And
throughout the film, you sort of see that long lost city just like scattered in like little pieces throughout the island. You see like certain architecture there, and
the architecture that before I say that, one of the concept designers, or one of the producers, said that the first civilization on the island was equal to, or almost right up there with, like, the Incas, Egyptians, Sumerians, kind of like that. But then, the island starts to fall apart, and then you see the natives they have to survive on something that's being destroyed. So of course they look like freaking demonic. So of course they look demonic as hell. So because of their situation, they're more primitive.
Sort of lost their humanity.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that two of the
they became just as animalistic as all the other animals of Skull Island, right? Yeah. And maybe that's because they realized a long time ago that there's no humanity worth keeping anymore, because Skull Island is hell itself, especially if you So they figured, why not just be like all the other island?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing though, I will admit, it is actually like the way the makeup was done on them is absolutely... It's like, they're scary as fuck, but when you look at it, the makeup on them is absolutely, like, well done to get that demonic, almost demon point across. Bless you. The makeup done on them is just absolutely fabulous, the makeup team who did this. And then, also, there's... And I gotta make another comparison to 33 here. I gotta do another 33 comparison. It's, you have Fay Wray, who screams a lot, and then Naomi Watts' scream is actually more terrifying than Fay Wray's. Like, I thought you were gonna bring up that irrelevant fish head thing that you and I were just talking about. Well, actually, it is kind of weird that, I'm not going to go on a whole tangent like I did the ketchup and hot sauce last episode, but I just think it's
the most relevant thing we've ever done on the podcast.
Exactly. But, it was just a little weird, like, because the fact that the humans live by the water, live by the ocean, where they can easily catch fish, I just thought it was kind of a waste of food. Like, it's just kind of a waste of food. Like, why would you just leave your food sitting there? But anyways, the other weird thing that I'm actually bringing this up is, there's one native character who I could swear's the chief. This old witch-looking person, native islander or whatever. She is, oh my god, she's like the way they did her, she is the most hideous looking native on this island. Like, you can tell she is like the lead witch or whatever. And one of her hands, I know her hand's supposed to be jacked up, but it looks like she's flipping everyone off. Like, it literally looks like she's got this big middle finger up, and it just looked funny to me for some reason. Like, I'm watching her speak in her native tongue to Anne, but at the same time, her hand is like she's flipping everybody off for some reason. I don't know why. It's like the way she's walking and her big middle fingers in the air. I don't know why. I just saw that and I'm like, okay, why are you flipping everybody off? But anyways,
she's just having a bad day, and the main characters just had to go and make it worse.
Yeah, exactly. And the part that, and I gotta say this one thing, the part that feels so unscripted in that scene is when Carl Denham walks up to that one creepy native chick, this little native girl, who just extends her arm out for some odd reason, and he starts...
She's just standing there. She's just standing there like one of those chicks from the Japanese horror films. You know, one of those pale ghost girls with hair cover their face. It reminds me of that. It's like something out of The Grudge or The Ring or something.
It kind of looks like The Grudge. That is actually a nice comparison. And Carl Denham walks up to her...
Actually, it's funny that I just mentioned that, because The Ring, Naomi Watts was in The Ring as well. So
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not... Okay, folks, I'm telling you right now, I did not know that, actually. I did not know Naomi Watts was even in there.
It's kind of weird that I just brought that up. I just brought that up and I just realised it, and I'm like, oh yeah, Naomi Watts was in The Ring as well. What the fuck?
Well, she definitely carries on that horror acting in this movie. Like, good God.
Oh, yeah.
And
because The Ring, I think, was released 2 or 3 years before King
I
Kong.
think, yeah, it came out in like 2002 or 2003, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. And Naomi Watts just brought that acting experience onto this film. So,
and there's a bit that I just posted on my Instagram while I was preparing for this.
Right now.
There's the scary. Well, don't play the sound effect because I don't want this to get copyrighted.
I can't.
But there's one bit that utterly is just the scary. I call this the scariest scene in the entire film, where you just see this one of the film crew gets impaled out of nowhere by like a spear or a stick or whatever, and Naomi Watts just screams bloody murder, and all of a sudden you hear Kong's roar behind the wall. Like, the way that it's done is just terrifying. Like, they literally... I don't know what it is about that scene. It literally scared the shit out of me. That one few seconds literally scared the everlasting shit out of me. And it's just like when the camera pans out when you hear Kong's roar, it's like you can just see how otherworldly this island looks. Like, this island doesn't... I mean, 1933 Skull Island looked like, you know, just a typical creature movie jungle paradise, but no. Peter Jackson, on the other hand, decided to scare the living shit out of his audience, and he sure got the damn point across. He really got the point across here. And what do you think of the sacrifice scene, by the way? Like, because you said something about because the difference is like when the natives kidnap Anne, they don't use rowboat canoes this time. They pole vault onto the ship, onto the adventure. They literally pole...
I think it's a clever way of coming up with a way for the natives, the islanders, to kidnap Anne without anyone on board the venture, you know, aware of it. And I think it's a clever way of doing it because... sorry, it kind of makes, it kind of shows that, because, like, you know, with King Kong in 1933, when the islanders kidnapped Anne, like, they did so using canoe. And I've always said this, like, even if you're some distance away, you would still be able to, to hear the oars paddling through the water. So, but by doing this, by pole vaulting from boulder or rock face, whatever they were that were poking out from the water, whatever they were doing, it was cleverly thought because, like, no one would have suspected anything. and I think it's just a clever idea.
Yeah, and also you said that we also saw that in the 1976 remake they used the canoes again, and you can actually hear the damn oars in the water that time in the 76 movie. Like, you can straight up hear it.
I suspect no one would be really suspicious of it because, you know, with the ocean, you know, watery sounds coming from every direction, you know, you would dismiss it as nothing. It's just watery sounds, you know, coming from somewhere, something's doing something, you know, it's natural. It's just natural to presume that. But now, right, with oars paddling through water, because I go canoeing quite a lot, you know, because I want to keep myself fit, and canoeing's a good way to do so. It makes that distinctive sound, you know, like whenever you're out somewhere in nature and you hear a human doing a certain thing, whatever they're doing, you can tell it's a human doing it. So, you know, if they're like climbing something or hiking or canoeing or snorkeling or la 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 la, you know, you get the point.
I'm still here, dude. I'm still hearing you.
What's going on?
Did you just have a monkey moment?
No.
Oh.
You just stopped for some reason.
No, I'm just letting you talk, dude.
Oh no, I'm done.
Oh no, no, but it was just so insane how, you know, then and also when it comes to the natives, I just love the fact that I don't love this, but when it also comes to the natives, there's also like that really weird, that really messed up scene where you've got, oh, and you pointed this out actually, I thought it was kind of funny. This has to be a reference to the 76 movie. It feels like it anyway, because, you know, you have the natives messing, you know, fucking with the main characters, and then you have other characters, then they start shooting, you know, and the main characters start bringing guns and scaring the natives away and everything. That honestly feels like a reference to 76, and then...
speaking of references, I've got to say something.
All right.
So before I, you know, FaceTime my bro here, before we started getting into anything, before this podcast even started, just to get a little up to date with what we would be discussing right now. I've been binge watching clips of King Kong all day, and out of curiosity, I checked out deleted scenes. And in a deleted scene, and bro, I don't know if you know this, but you're gonna love this. There's a scene where, you know how Englehorn was like, you know, with how he interacts with Carl Denham, you know, he sees Carl as like a shifty sort of fella, you know, not
to be trusted kind of thing.
Yeah, the sort of guy you want to avoid, you know, not to be trusted. And there's this scene, deleted scene where it's after, you know, where Englehorn goes, I want you off my ship.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Jack and Carl are conversing with each other. And I fucking love Peter Jackson, man. I fucking love Peter Jackson. This reference, man, I was like, and like, Carl said he got the map of Skull Island from a Norwegian skipper.
Oh my god. Oh, that sucked. They should have left that in there.
I know.
They should have left that in there. Oh, now that you said that, they should have left that in there. Holy shit. They should have left that in there.
I was like, oh my god, they reference suck.
I mean, why the hell? Oh, speaking of which, one little piece of backstory for those of you who don't know. Speaking of sock, I love the fact that Peter Jackson and the other cast members, pretty much the whole crew, were in on a certain April Fool's joke that was done during the production of this movie, where they literally said that they were gonna remake Sock, and it would come to find out it was an April Fool's joke, which really sucks, because I would have loved to see Peter Jackson do a remake of Sock. I swear to Christ, I would love to see him do a remake of that. I would so love to see him do it.
I just love the fact that there's a shock reference in King Kong, but it sucks that it's in a deleted scene though, because no one's really gonna know about it.
I know, like, they reference pretty much, every other American Kong movie up to this point, but Sock, they should have left that reference in, not gonna lie. They should have left that in there now that you said that. But
just the moment the words left his lips, when I got the map from a Norwegian skipper, and I'm like, oh man, that's a Son of Kong reference right there.
That should have been left in the movie.
Why did they leave that in? It's so good.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of leaving stuff, well, we're not at that point yet. But what'd you ever think of the sacrifice scene?
Horrifying.
It's what?
It's horrifying. It's horrifying. The natives, man, like you said with the makeup, it's very well done, but with just the way they look and how they're behaving, it's like they're acting like rabid animals, you know? It's like, you know, you see some of them with infections in their eyes, some of them with missing legs and things like that, and those are getting infected too. You can see the swelling in the, what do you call it? What do you call it when you know an amputated limb? What's it called?
When you see, well, there. I don't know if there's really a name for that, but yeah, I see what you mean.
There is a word for it, but
I can see what you mean by how absolutely hideous the natives are.
Yeah, they look absolutely almost
fugly, very fugly. They look extremely fugly.
Fugly people.
But
no, I was going to say hideous.
Oh, hideous. Well, yeah.
I know you were saying like how hideous, you know, the chief of the tribe.
Oh my God, that woman, dude! You take one look at her, and it's like, good God, that is straight up like that. She's the most nightmare fuel person living on this island. And I love how you say, and I was saying this while we were watching this scene, while we were watching this whole chunk, that you said you liked the sacrifice music from 33 more. Like, you like the heavy orchestra,
no.
Or was it 76?
No. Oh, hold on. So, no, I said I liked... You know, it's difficult to pick now because they're all just as good as each other rewatching these movies. And, you know, at first, like, when you watch them, at first you think you have it figured out and you say, yeah, I prefer this one over the other. But then you watch the other one and then you're like, oh, no, this one's better. So now, I don't really know which one I like.
Yeah, when it comes to, like, in all honesty, when it comes to sacrifice music, I love the soundtrack for the sacrifice in this movie more because I just love the heavy drum feeling. I don't know why, like, I love the heavy amount of drums that they use with the sticks and everything, and the sticks and the logs. I honestly like that one a lot more. And I just love the fact that, you know, like in 76 and 33, behind the wall, there's, you know, as soon as you go over the wall, there's like the whole rest of the island. But in this movie, there's like a cavern between the wall and the jungle. You ever notice that? There's like this cavern that separates them, which actually is
there's like some sort of a gorge or something like that, yeah.
Which honestly is kind of better, which is like a better design choice because that literally would keep you a lot more safe. You know what I mean? That would actually make you safer than just having like something can just walk right up to the wall. Like if something wanted to get to the wall, it would have to try harder. Like it would actually have to try and probably fail a bunch of times.
There's no issue for Konga, but we'll get to that.
But we'll get to that in a bit. But then when it comes to the sacrifice scene, you know, I love how they build up Kong's appearance. Like, you know, you see these brief little, like the first time they sort of show him, you kind of, there's like this POV shot of him going through the trees when he's on his way, and you hear him breathing. And then you see, like, the trees start moving, and
it's kind of like what they did with King Kong 1976, you know, because, you know, like, in that film, we were sort of shown, like, Kong's perspective, you know, because, like, toppling over trees and, you know, heavy breathing and things like that. Kind of reminds me of that.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely that is definitely reminiscent of that. And then when Kong just, like, this Kong, dude, I don't know what it is about movie gorillas that they have the athleticism of a chimp. I mean, this Kong, he jumps. This Kong jumps everywhere. He runs, jumps. This Kong is like athletic. Like, this Kong has been like hitting the gym or something because, like, good God, this guy can jump. And then when he comes out of the fire, I like how they don't fully show him. You just see his hands. Like, you just see his hands and you hear his breathing. And then before he takes Anne, like, Carl looks right at him. Like, there's this really, really good shot with this, with the music, with the soundtrack. You just see Kong's eyes, and he gives Carl this really pissed off look before running back in the forest, before running into the jungle. And I do love the fact, though, that right off the bat, they established Kong's a silverback. I love that, because you said in I think it was the review for Lives, I think you said that, like, the Kong in that movie is more animalistic. You said, like, it's, like, the Kong in the De Laurentiis films are, like, more animal-ish. Like, he behaves more animal-ish, or... Like you said...
When the podcasts are out for that, I'll have to listen to that, because I don't really remember saying that. I might have said something similar along those lines.
I just thought you did. I apologize, dude. Because when it comes to...
We'll see when we get to the... when we listen to the podcast there.
Yeah, because this Kong here, he straight up, like... You know, props to Andy Serkis, you know, for playing this... for playing this version. And also...
I love the fact with Andy Serkis, like, you know, preparing for this role, he actually went to some wildlife reserve somewhere in Africa to study gorillas, you know, to study their behavior and their locomotion and things like that. He just wanted to get everything just right, and... He
nailed it, because this Kong...
Bravo, my man, bravo.
Because you know how we were saying that, you know, Kong, he just happens to look like a gorilla, but he's a different species of primate altogether.
Yeah.
This Kong
I think they actually gave him
this Kong's a straight up
scientific name.
Megapromatus Kong. Yeah, the lore in here, they actually gave him a name, but this Kong's a straight up gorilla. He walks like one, looks a lot like, and looks like something you'd see in Rwanda, and his behavior is, I mean, Andy Serkis, you can tell Andy Serkis really did his research on this role. You can tell he really...
I wonder how long he must have spent there with them, because he really picked up a lot of their traits.
Dude, you know, he must have went... Dude,
he delivered it perfectly.
Dude, yeah, doing it that perfect like he did, he probably spent a lot of time. He probably spent, like... He probably told Peter Jackson, hey, man, just a couple more days. No, just 3 more days. A couple more days goes by. No, 3 more days, dude. Just give me 3 more days.
I imagine Peter Jackson himself wouldn't have any problem with that whatsoever. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, you do what you do to make it just perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that. And the funny thing is, I love, like, how... There's this joke that Corrupt Nostalgia made when he reviewed this movie as well, when he said, when he was saying, this is, when I was talking about Kong's athleticism, the way he runs, like, he is running with a mix of all 4s and on 3s, he's jumping over shit. Dude, with the force that he's moving, Anne's skull would be coming out of her ass. I mean, seriously. Her skeleton is like made of adamantium or some shit, because with the amount of force that this animal's moving, Anne's skeleton would be busted up. She'd be dead. Like, she'd be dead in like 30 minutes of that. But it's so crazy
how... not even 30 minutes, just like a few minutes. Like, hell, maybe even like 30 seconds.
Yeah, she'd be dead from all that shit. But no, somehow Kong is, you know, shaking her around, and then she just... It's so weird. Kong's behavior is so funny in this movie. Like, you know, we see this whole sacrifice scene, Kong just being a wild animal like he is, and then all of a sudden we cut to the main characters going after her, and, you know, I love how the only dinosaur in this movie that's from the 33 version is the Brontosaur. I love, like, the Brontosaurus. And I will admit, the whole Brontosaurus scene...
Even though we should mention that, you know how, like, with every species on this island was carefully thought through very well to the point that you think they're like an actual species that once existed?
Yeah.
So, like, with the Brontosaurus, it's not your usual Brontosaurus. It is a Brontosaurus, but it's a modernized version of a Brontosaurus. And because of that, I like to think, you know, like, with some cryptids out there that have yet to be discovered that share resemblance of some prehistoric animals, I'm like, what if they're modernized versions of them? You know? That
is actually true, and this movie does kind of put that into perspective a little bit. And I love how with the human characters we get to see a little more about them in this chunk, because you have Bruce Baxter. This guy, you know, I love how he straight up shows that, you know, and Jack Driscoll even points it out to him that that in all of Bruce Baxter's movies, you know, he always plays a tough guy, but in real life, he's a wuss. Bruce Baxter is a freaking wuss because, you know, Carl Denham just starts filming the brontosaurs and he's telling Bruce Baxter to walk towards the animals, right? And he's just terrified. And they're sitting there eating plants and he's sitting there almost pissing himself. He's literally standing there really, with the Tommy gun even, loaded Tommy gun, almost pissing himself looking at plant eaters. I mean, of course, I'm pretty sure anybody would, I guess, in that situation if you're looking at, you know, animals that size right the hell in front of you, but, you know, it's just kind of like, it kind of makes him a little wuss.
I would be scared shitless if I saw that. I mean, especially because if you saw a herd of brontosaurs, you know, you're driving somewhere and if you're driving through like a national park, and if you see for yourself a herd of brontosaurs just peacefully grazing, minding their own business, I would still be very concerned because you don't know how they're going to react. You know, animals are unpredictable.
That's true, and
like, if they've never really seen anything like Carl or Bruce before, then there's a chance they're gonna, you know, freak out a little. They're like, what the fuck are these tiny little things?
What's actually kind of funny is I noticed the little details that a couple of the brontosaurs actually see them. Like, you see them look at them with, like, some plants hanging out of their mouth for, like, a second. But the thing is, they're just looking at them like, exactly. But the one thing I love about the brontosaur scene, the absolute most, is the fact that it's not the people that make them stampede, it's the raptors. It's these evolved raptors, the venatosaurs. And it kind of shows, it really shows what, like, what life is like on there, because during this whole stampede sequence, they're running from the venatosaurs. They're not like, the people are just in the way. They're just there. And I just love, like, and I love, man, freaking Jack Black's stamina in this scene. Like, Carl Denham is running with the heavy-ass camera with the tripod. He is just humping it so hard from the brontosaurs carrying that heavy-ass thing. Like, dude, man, you must have been hitting the gym at some point, dude, because no real person can do that.
Cameras in those days, they were heavy as fuck, man.
Exactly. Especially, not only is the camera there, but so is the tripod, and the tripod's probably just as heavy, so it's like, he is humping it with this frickin' just running away from the brontosaurs. And then you pointed out something, this is actually kind of funny. I love how, you know, during the stampede, you know, you see people get smashed, people get smushed, you know, and I do love, like, they're very classy about it. Peter Jackson was very classy about that, because nowadays, if you were to do that in a movie, you would see a blood splatter under a creature's feet, but they don't do that in this movie, so I give them respect for, like, it's violent, but it's not, like, gory, it's not gory violence.
It's not over the top, because, like, if this were made today, that would be like...
a lot of gore all over the place.
Yeah, blood would probably splatter on the lens, you know, to
exactly.
give it some sort of, like, jump scare quality to it, if that makes sense, like... Because you see it all the time now. It's just over-the-top violence in movies. Like, and not saying it's a bad thing. I think they should just tone it down a little.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes it's not as realistic as they portray it, you know?
And I just love, like, there's this funny bit that you and I pointed out where that you and I were laughing at. Like, during this whole stampede, right, everyone's running. Here comes here comes Bruce Baxter, like, coming through, and he's just running through these legs like they're nothing, and there's this little moment where Carl and Jack look at each other like, is he serious? Like, they just have this look on their face like, was he for real just now? Did he just run past us? Did he really just hump it past? I don't know why. It's like, dude, you're in the middle of peril, and there's that little moment that's kind of like, bro, what the fuck?
I love the fact that he somehow made it right to the front, in front of all the other creatures and characters that were running for their lives. Because now,
yeah, he somehow made it all the way. He somehow just makes it. He's like the most athletic person out of that entire group, apparently, because he made it all the way up front.
The characters in this film, they worked out before this film was made. Like,
exactly. Well, I mean, they're ship crew, so most of them are ship crew, so I'm pretty sure they do have a lot of athleticism.
They have that stamina and endurance. So.
Oh, and you know what? I know you hate this. I know.
That doesn't really save them from what they're
dealing with, from what they got into. Oh, and I know you hate this, but there's a little shot where they actually use the Wilhelm scream in this movie, where a brontosaur, before it falls off the cliff, it knocks a dude off the cliff by accident, and it
the ledge,
you hear the Wilhelm scream. I'm like, really? I know this is a good movie, but really, that's like the cheapest sound effect to use. I don't know why, but then all of a sudden, the brontosaur scene just ends with, well, not really ends, but the long necks they fall over each other. Like, would you ever consider that cartoony? Because the way they literally fall on top of each other, like
not really.
And these animals, you're right. These animals had to be hyper evolved as shit or tough, because remember when we were watching this, I was pointing out every time they would most likely bust some part of their body.
Like, busted leg, busted neck.
Dude, half the frickin' time, these animals would be, their bones would be broken. Like 3 of them, their necks would have been snapped. Another 4 of them, their pelvises would have been busted in half, or a couple of ribs would have been stomped on. Like, what the fuck? Dude, the fact that these animals survived that, like, dude, 65 million years of evolution, man, they had to have been hitting the gym in that amount. They must have been juicing with whatever plants they've been eating, or pumping plant steroids or some shit, because these things survived that.
I think this is going to be a running gag throughout this episode. Just us saying, oh yeah, he's been hitting the gym, he's been working out. Because we said it like at least 4 or 5 times now.
Exactly. Well, because it's like Skull Island is, everything is so evolved, and all the people just run through shit. It pretty much is Australia on steroids. No, but then it's like
this country wasn't steroid enough already.
No, Jesus. And then you've got like, I just love the transition, how you just have like, you have this whole scene, everybody's in peril, and then it just cuts to Kong eating. It cuts to Kong eating bamboo, and he's just chilling. Kong is just like, he just sitting there, there's a waterfall in the background off to the left, and he's just chilling. He's sitting there eating bamboo, and then...
I love how, like, Anne is playing dead, and Kong,
Oh, he looks over his shoulder. He just looks over his shoulder at her, and while she's not moving, and then he goes back to eating bamboo.
There was a moment where he paused a little, and I'm like, did she move an inch or two? I don't know. Back to eating.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, when he notices that she's gone, there's like this interesting relationship that develops. Like, you see, Kong is just, he's so pissed. He's just pissed off, and he starts roaring at her and shit. And then then Anne uses her vaudeville acting to make him laugh, and Kong laughing, I don't know why, but Kong, it makes you laugh with him because this scene is so funny. Like, it really makes you laugh with Kong, actually, because...
Yeah.
And especially, I love the sound effects they use for him. Like, they use actual, like, a noise a gorilla would make while it's sitting there.
I love the fact, while he's laughing, he's doing these little hoots as well. He's hooting while he's laughing, and he's just like...
Yeah, exactly. And then he becomes kind of a douchebag when he intentionally knocks Anne over. Like, he just loves knocking Anne on her ass. He just loves knocking her over. But then he did. It's like a great little like you get to see, how animalistic he is. And then there's this moment where when Anne just yells at him, and he gets so pissed, and then he starts destroy. He kind of throws a shit fit basically, where he starts destroying shit in that one little spot. Like, you can tell he wants to kill her. Like, he wants to pulverize Anne right now. But for some reason he can't.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did. He was just a little fucked off and decided to have a little temper tantrum. Just had a little fit. Let out his rage.
And
because
then there's
because he knew if he was going to do that to Anne, it would be lights out in just a nanosecond. Just like,
Yeah, exactly. And then I love like that one moment, and you even thought this was kind of funny, after Kong, like he throws his temper tantrum, and then he stands there for a minute. He stands there for a sec, he stops, and he just stands there. And then this rock just randomly tumbles down a hill and falls on his back. Like, there's this one little rock that just, like, knocks on his back, and then he just goes away. He just hops around this in ancient ruin and just into the trees. Like, he just vanishes.
I love the fact, like, when the rock rolls down and just hits him, and then he's trying to whip away from Anne because now he's all embarrassed. He was showing off before, but now it's ricocheted off him in a way, and now he's embarrassed about it.
Yeah, that's actually and to show his embarrassment, and then he just goes. He just goes. Like, he literally just vanishes off somewhere.
Yeah.
He just goes in.
I'm out of here. I'm out of here. It's embarrassing. I don't want to do this.
Exactly. And then
I'm not doing it. I'm out of here.
Yeah, and then we go to and then comes the log scene, and this log scene. Oh my god. The way this log scene was done was like everybody has balls. The human characters had the balls to shoot at Kong while he's shaking the damn log, They have and I just noticed this. Carl was filming that whole time. Yeah. Until the camera dropped in the branch.
Everyone is shooting at Kong. Even Carl.
Yeah.
He forgot.
Carl was filming the whole thing, and I actually thought that was interesting. And I'm kind of relatable to that, because if I had a camera with me and I was in that situation, I would be filming too. I most likely would be doing the same thing. I mean, hell, if I had my GoPro with me, I'd be filming too. Are you kidding me? Shit. Hell, I'd be filming the same thing. Like, ain't no one gonna believe this back home. And then, and when Kong shakes the log, then, one character in that scene that I really felt sorry for was Hayes. The fact that Kong just throws him, he just yeets him against the wall, instantly killing him, and then you just see his body just drop into the spider pit. And the one thing that another thing I love that Peter Jackson did was actually show what was happening on the log as it was falling into the ravine, because in the 33 movie, the log just drops in the ravine with some dude hanging off of it, and that's it. And shot. In this movie, you actually see what it felt like being on that log, and it shaking all over the place, and everyone literally, dropping in. Freaking dropping in, the damn thing dropping in. And then, for those who, a lot of movie enthusiasts know this, in 1933, there was a spider pit scene that was deleted, and then Peter Jackson decided, I'm gonna put the spider pit scene in my version, but this time, everything looks like
I'm gonna crank it up to 11.
Yeah, I'm gonna crank this up to 11 and have giant Weddas, which, for those who don't know, or for those in New Zealand who are watching this, you guys a Wedda is basically an oversized cricket.
Anyone who's Australian or New Zealander, they know their wildlife. So if we mention Wedda, they're like, oh yeah, I know those.
Yeah, exactly. And Weddas are pretty good. They're like an oversized cricket. And I just love, like, how this movie is full of them. There's so many giant Weddas in this movie. And you said one of them was a puppet, apparently? I didn't know one of them was a puppet. Like, there was one that was on Jack's face for a few seconds, and you said the way its head was moving. You know, like you said
it
this.
It has to have been an animatronic of some kind, because the way it was right up against the actor, and doing that, especially in 2005, if you're going to use CGI in that way, you're going to have to really pull it off.
Yeah, exactly.
But that looked practical to me.
That now thinking it, now looking at it, that actually could have been a practical bug that they had. Oh, and then there's the joke where, and the one character, you know, then there's the other character that I feel sorry for, Choi, the Chinese dude. It really sucks that he died. I actually was liking him because he and Andy Serkis's other character, Lumpy, in this movie, you can tell they were best friends, and you know, the fact that Choi died, you know, you just see the broken, you see everyone's broken at that point, you know, they're out there, everyone's so broken, like Jimmy lost Hayes, you know, because Hayes was kind of like an adopted father to him, and then Choi was Lumpy's best friend, so you see like the loss. The what?
A lot of romances were lost here.
And also another thing, I actually do feel sorry for Carl in this scene because, you know, he tried to do something big. He tried to make it big for himself in the film industry, and he sees his cameras just shredded. His camera's done for. And you can just see he's lost everything at this point. Like, Carl Denham has lost everything he's tried to do. He's lost his crew. He's lost the camera that he uses. He's lost everything trying to make this movie. And then he embraces his Dragon Warrior. He embraces the Dragon Warrior here by literally going apeshit on the bugs. He grabs a stick or a rifle. Was it a stick or a rifle he was using?
The amount of times I've seen that comment on, like, every time, you know, I rewatch this scene, you know, as a clip on YouTube, I read the comments, and then there's always those comments that said, this is here we see him embracing his Dragon Warrior.
And Carl Denham really could become like a human Dragon Warrior because he goes apeshit on the Weddas, he grabs this stick and he starts whacking them like crazy. And then he does this kung fu shit with this scorpion looking deal. Like, good God, like he is pissed. Like he is so pissed.
He's just swinging it over his head. Like,
he's going apeshit over here. And then all of a sudden, like, just when you think they're safe, here comes more of these big scorpion, spider, these giant arachnid-looking things.
Hybrid, whatever they are.
Good God, you see this whole horde just start crawling down the wall, right? And then all of a sudden, here comes Anglehorn. And a bunch of the other crew just start shooting them. Oh yeah, Baxter finally has balls, and he starts actually acting like he does in his movies, and, you know, that kind of gives you a little more respect for the character. And then all of a sudden, we get to, you know, oh, and we probably should
have talked about the bug pit sequence afterwards, because we've left a lot out already.
Oh yeah, and we can't mention Andy Serkis's Lumpy's...
The highlight of the film.
Oh yeah, Lumpy's death scene where...
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
What highlight are you
Kong versus 3 Rexes.
Oh yeah, that scene. Well, actually, oh yeah, I almost forgot about that part. You know, I just love, like, Naomi Watts is just, she's so good to reacting to a shitload of CGI because, you know, she runs towards this thing, well, they call it the Photodon, which is this big iguana looking thing. Apparently
it's like some sort of crocodilian that's evolved to be more suited on land, apparently.
Oh, it's a more terrestrial crocodile?
Yeah, but it looks like it's got diabetes though.
It's a really thick animal. And you said it was eating a hadrosaur? You said that carcass, like it was eating this carcass.
Yeah,
you said it was like a small...
It was some sort of hadrosaur.
And that meat looked really disgusting. Like, it was ripping chunks out of it and just swallowing it. Like, that even looked gross. And then you've got... Yeah, and then you've got, another... Then Anne, like, sees the one and then turns around and then another one starts chasing her. And it chases her into a log, and then you hear bones snapping. You hear this thing's bones get... this thing gets busted in... this thing gets broken in half. Like, this poor animal, I actually felt sorry for it, not gonna lie. I actually felt sorry for that one photodon, and the other one runs away like, oh, nope, fuck this, I'm out of here. Like, it just runs.
Good call.
Like, it just runs, and then Anne's in the log, and I can't get your two voiceovers out of my head for these two evolved arthropleura looking things that start crawling on Anne. You're making it look like they're British, like they're these two British fellows on Skull Island, like oh, I haven't seen this, like I haven't seen this before. Have you?
Yeah,
oh no, sir, no, I haven't seen this before.
The story behind that is just that, like these two giant centipedes, inside the log where Anne is hiding herself away from the photodon. And there's these two centipedes that are just like stroking her, feeling her with their antennae, they're crawling on her. And I'm just imagining that these two centipedes, they have these heavy, thick British accents. and I'm just imagining how they would be conversing with one another, like, oh, I've never seen anything like this before, chap. You go right, lad. It's quite extraordinary, isn't it? Oh, indeed it is.
Oh my god, it just looks so, especially the one centipede that, like, it crawls out from, like, somewhere in the log and then stops real quick while it's touching Anne with its antenna. And then, like, Anne, I just love Naomi Watts' face, like, the look of shock on her face, like, not only is there giant lizards and a giant monkey, there's bugs. There's these nasty-looking bugs on this island. And then she runs out of the log because she just shakes the centipedes off and runs out. And then this is where I think Naomi Watts is her best acting on Skull Island, is the V-Rex. The way she looked, the way she looked at it, the way she looked was like, should I even turn around right now? Should I honestly even turn around? And then she slowly turns, and then here comes literally a evolved T-Rex with 3 fingers, which is interesting. The V-Rex got 3 fingers on their hands, and
actually, fun fact about T-Rex. This is what me and a mate yesterday, we were collaborating watching a dinosaur documentary about T-Rex. And he said to me that when he went to visit a natural history museum somewhere, he was speaking with a paleontologist, and this paleontologist actually showed him that T-Rex actually did have 3 fingers, but 2 were shown on the outside, 1 was still inside.
Oh, so it's like a dew claw kind of thing? Or like dew finger?
I guess. Because it's a vestigial sort of finger. So it's there, but it's not there. And as a result of that, you only see 2 fingers instead of 3. The 3rd finger's there, it's just inside the hand.
That's kinda. You mean like an anaconda, how it has that vestigial little hind leg in the back? With the single claw, kind of like that?
Yeah, you see the sort of traits in evolutionary trained animals all the time, so...
Yeah.
I would assume if, I think it just goes to show that I would assume, with theropods, if they didn't go extinct, then eventually they would have evolved with no arms at all, because they were losing fingers, their arms were getting smaller, and their head was pretty much just their one massive arm, one massive hand. That's their head was all they needed. Yeah,
to grab everything. But but one thing about the V-Rexes is I do love the design choice. It looked like something Ray Harryhausen would make. I mean, they have crocodile scales. To put even one of the concept designers, I think
they're called osteoderms.
The
Osteoderms was scoots.
Well,
or is osteoderm a term for another?
No, that's actually a term for crocodilians is osteoderms, but either that or turtles, one of those two groups of reptiles.
I think they're called scoots. I think they're just called scoots.
Yeah, but I just love like one of the concept designers. I think it was Greg Broadmoor who was designing the V-Rex. He literally said that, you know, to put crocodile scales on a dinosaur is very ludicrous because, you know, this came out in 2005 and dinosaurs weren't designed to look that reptilian, and these V-Rexes look like big damn lizards, basically. And I just love, like, what we were talking about this, actually, how, you know, the V-Rex's body is, the way it evolved is to move through the jungle very easily. Like, it has a, like, its skeletal structure is very, its skeletal structure fits that environment that perfectly, where it can easily move through the trees.
They gave it a more serpentine physique to it because it had a waist. Like, T-Rex didn't have a waist, so it couldn't, like, bend its way through trees chasing down its victims. But the V-Rex does. And so it can sort of slither its way, like a giant snake on two legs, in a way.
Yeah, and that's actually, it is very interesting that they designed it that way. And you have one, and then all of a sudden, one starts, and it's so funny, like, Anne gets away from one, lands, and she falls on a dead tree, and then right behind her, moving like a ninja, there's the second one, and, you know, then that one starts trying to eat her, and then she does her trademark, really echoing scream, and Kong just jumps out of the trees, grabs Anne, and then, boom, here comes, like, you know, Kong fighting the three V-Rexes. And it's so funny, like, and yes, I gotta tell this other joke, like...
I imagine Kong was nearby the whole time.
He probably was, if he was able to come, like, that fast.
I don't think there was no time he could have got there in time, unless he was nearby. He was keeping an eye on Anne. You know, it's like an overgrown dad watching his little kid, you know, and then comes out at the right time to tell him off.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how it was. But Kong, on the other hand, he don't just tell you off. He doesn't just tell you to fuck off. No, he will beat the living shit out of you because he just jumps out of the tree and kicks this V-Rex in the face. He literally just kicks it in the face and then tries to wrestle with that one while holding Anne in one hand, grapple with this thing in the other. And then here comes the other V-Rex that ate the Photodon. So, right before Kong is about to, you know, tell them two to fuck off, here comes a third one over Kong's shoulder, and then here comes, like you said, I think this is like the most iconic scene in this entire movie, because it's like Peter Jackson
it's the highlight of the film.
Like Peter Jackson looked at the original and said, "Oh, you got one Rex? I got 3 Rexes in my movie. Yahtzee, bitch."
That's it. He must have been thinking, "Oh yeah, that fight with Kong and the T-Rex in the first film was." Yeah, it was all right, but I can make it better by tripling it.
Yeah, he can triple it. And it's so funny, like, I love that primates, that great apes have, that the way their feet are structured to look like hands. I love, like, how...
Their feet are pretty much have, like, 4 hands.
They do, yeah, and I love that Kong takes advantage of that. Like, he grabs one V-Rex by the nose, and he pushes that one, grabs another one and throws it into that one against a tree, starts punching and throwing them all over the place. Like, Kong is, like, the thing is every animal on Skull Island knows how to fight. Like, they know how to they know how to kick ass. And the V-Rexes, they put up their own against Kong.
I guess they would have to, because, you know, I mean, every animal in that island would have to be competitive one way or another, because that island, you know, it's slowly sinking into the sea. And I'm going to try and stay on track this time. I'm not going to try and lose track. Because, like, I remember watching on a sort of mockumentary, I think that's the right word to use, mockumentary, about the behind the scenes of how Skull Island came to be in this Kong film. Like, they said something along the lines like how it used to be more spacious, it used to be more, you know, have more range, so animals had all the room they needed to to not be competitive at all. But now, like, with this, you know, they had all the freedom they needed to. They didn't have to interact as much with one another. You know, it was their own little, you know, private paradise sort of place.
Yeah.
But because, like I said, because of, like, with natural causes, like with earthquakes and erosions and things like that, with Skull Island sinking into the sea, like, now they're all confined to this small space, so they don't really have enough territory in between them, and now they've
had to adapt to that. They've had to adapt to such a hostile environment.
It's their survival or yours, pretty much. So,
yeah, exactly. And this fight straight up proves that. And the way Kong takes down the first two of these three is nuts. Like he smashes one of them with a boulder. He pulverizes his head with a boulder, and then him and the other two fall into a chasm, and then he smashes the other one's head against a chasm wall. I mean, pulverizes that one. And then the scene of them all tangled up in the vines in the ravine, I don't know why, it's just sort of funny to me for some reason. It actually kind of looked funny, especially, I don't know why I kind of thought it was funny when I heard this, but there's actually punching sounds of Kong punching the one V-Rex before going after the first one, before going after the other one. Do you hear these loud punching noises? Like, I don't know whether to think that's funny or not.
The reason why the scene in the ravine, you know, with them all tangled up in the intertwined in the vines, you know, is because, like, even though the T-Rexes, not T-Rex,
V-Rex,
mumbled up there, didn't I? V-Rex, the V-Rexes, you know, even though they're fighting with Kong, you know, it's life or death situation in this scenario, you know, they still want to eat Anne.
This whole situation, all four of these predators, all four of these things are fighting over her. This one little morsel, I kid you not, if you were to really look at it, Anne is the size of a chicken nugget. So it would be like four kids fighting over the last chicken nugget. I don't know why. Now that you said that, that is kind of what it looks like. It's like you have four...
Come here and toss me up my chicken nugget!
Exactly. Like, it just feels like four kids fighting over a chicken nugget. I don't know why.
It pretty much is. It's like siblings not sharing a treat between themselves.
They're not. They're literally, like, they all want it for them. Somebody's gonna get this chicken nugget. It's gonna be me. But then after Kong takes the one V-Rex, the second one, and just smashes its head against the chasm wall, then we get the scene from the original, which is the original Rex fight, where Kong jumps on its back and rips its tongue out first, which that had to hurt. You know, you had your tongue ripped out, like, good God. Like, that had to hurt.
I feel bad for them, because, you know, you can kind of hear them yelping like dogs every time they get punched around or thrown.
Oh, yeah, you can... Yeah, they actually show, like, they actually hurt, despite how tough these things are. But the one painful sound is right before Kong breaks the last one's jaw. Like, you literally hear this high-pitched little squeal before Kong busts this thing's skull. And it's like, he does the same thing he did in the original movie, but this one just looked more painful. Like, this one just looked a lot more painful. And then I love the little detail from the original where Kong, like,
how did he kill him? He broke his jaw, and with the upper snout, just bent it.
He twisted it, and then that busted the brain, probably, or
it would have shot and stabbed into the brain.
Exactly, because you can physically hear the bone crunching when that happens. Like, you can literally hear the bone snapping when that shit happens. And I love the detail of... I just love the detail of Kong, like, playing with it. Like trying to close it, and he's just looking at it. Like, I love that detail. Like, he did it in the original, where he's just playing with it for a bit. And then after that came the bug scene. We went way out of order with that. After that came the bug scene, and then after that, Jack Jack is the one, of course, like in the original, Jack's the one that goes after Anne. So while he runs off and does that, Carl tells Captain Englehorn to capture Kong. And he did it in the original. He said he wanted to capture Kong in the original as well. But in this one, Anglehorn, it actually makes more sense because Carl brings up the fact that Anglehorn knew how to capture animals. So he kind of was telling, so Carl was telling Anglehorn, hey, this could be a big challenge for you because you're good at catching animals. Maybe something this big, maybe, what's wrong with facing a good challenge every once in a while?
Yeah, I mean, it's an odd sort of scene because, we see Anglehorn presenting Carl a little, because Carl is someone who he thought he couldn't trust, but turns out he isn't, and he's a rather iffy sort of bloke. But when you see Anglehorn somewhat agreeing with Carl, because Carl persuaded him into catching, this mega-sized ape. And I'm like, it feels a little out of place because it feels like a little out of place for Anglehorn, this version of Anglehorn's character, because, this version of Anglehorn, he's a straight-up hard-ass.
He is a straight-up... Yeah, the other one was more like a...
He sort of, and you can see, he sort of resents Carl in a way. Like...
He even says it at one point. He even says, I don't give a damn about Carl Denham. He even says that at one point. Like, you can tell Anglehorn really don't like him. Like, he absolutely don't... He can't stand Carl Denham at all.
No. There was just like... And with Carl, just wasting the Venture's crew one by one in the most horrific way there is, oh man, you can only imagine how Anglehorn must feel, man.
Oh, and the fact that he literally just, like, sort of agreed with Carl to capture Kong, like, I could kind of see how it's like, it would feel a little out of place, but, at the same time, though, they gotta capture the big dude somehow. Like, they gotta capture him somehow. And then right after that, we get this, honestly, this kind of, it is this honestly very beautiful scene of, Kong showing Anne where he technically lives, where his lair is, and you see skeletons of dead Kongs. Like, you see, like, when I counted, there's like 6 of them in this little cave here, and you see all of Kong's family there, or his troop, or probably his troop, and showing that Kong's the last of his species, and you just see him looking out. I think this is like the one scene where you truly see how lonely Kong is, where you see how, after seeing the V-Rexes, and then after seeing, as the audience, we see the V-Rexes, the Brontosaurs, a one lone ceratopsian right before, on the way up to Kong's lair, there's like a shot of a evolved ceratopsian drinking out of a river, and you see all these dinosaurs, and then there's Kong. He's got nobody to chill with on this island. Everything he sees, he yells. Everything he sees yells at him, or it's kind of like the difference of opinion. When it comes to two different characters, and you really see, like, when Kong sits down and he looks out at the sunset, and Anne just, I don't know, it's just this nice moment with him and Anne. You can see this look of sadness on Kong's face, and Anne tries to cheer him up, and then he just lets her, sits in his hand while they're sitting at the lair together.
Besides from the fight with the V-Rex family, the highlight of the film, what easily steals the show of this film, is the friendship, or the bond that Kong and Anne have, which right from the get-go just starts off straight away.
They do, yeah, because other versions, Anne is always, like, terrified of Kong the entire movie, but in this one, is actually, this kind of like the first, well, American Kong anyway, where you really see a bond form between the two, and, you really get and it's like you really get a sense of, who Kong is as a character. Like, you really get a sense of who Kong actually is as a character here. And, you know, I can see, and that is a definite highlight of the movie, is this bond that he and Anne just start forming right off the bat here. And this movie and this one lair scene just plays it so damn good. Like, right there you see that they have a bond right there. Like, it really solidifies the bond. And then you just have, you know, Kong falling asleep. You know, Kong passes out, you know, because what else is he supposed to do? You know, he falls asleep holding Anne, and then Jack makes it up to Kong's lair. And I'm sitting there wondering, like, dude, were there ancient stairs you climbed up? How the hell did you get up? Like, how the hell did you get up there? But he just shows up, and he just shows up in Kong's lair. And above him, there's one creature in this movie that it's like I'm kind of a fan of, but at the same time not really, is the flying rodent, the evolved bat monster, Terapus mordax. You know, and these things are ugly. I don't know which one's ugly, or these things are the predator. I don't know which one of these things is more fugly. And, you know, I do like that they're basically just giant bats. They sleep in caves, hanging upside down or whatever. So it's like I can kind of deal with that. It's just the lair fight I'm not really a fan of, because, you know, you just have a swarm. You just have a. I remember
when you and I we were talking about this while watching the scene, and you were saying that you'd prefer if they had some sort of more.
Like this
highly evolved Skull Island pterosaur.
Yeah, like picture like a pteranodon. It's like a pteranodon with extra crest in the back of the head and a longer tail, like a Rhamphorhynchus kind of thing. Like, I just wish they would have had a more hyper evolved pterodactyl looking thing fighting Kong than the Terapus mordax. Well, than these bats. Like, I don't know. It just kind of felt weird because it wasn't really a fight. It was like Kong swatting at flies the whole time while Jack and Anne are escaping. And then, you know, you have them, they manage to escape by jumping off a vine. Well, they don't really jump off a vine. They grab one of the bats and they hitch a ride, and that poor animal, I kind of felt sorry for it because it's just like, yo, hey, get off me. Like, you can just see it kind of like, get the fuck off me. And then they, you know, land in the water. And then, of course, you know, the chase happens with Kong chasing after the two, leading up to the wall. And then Kong just breaks through the door. And one detail, and I pointed this out, actually, when we were watching this, is when Kong is breaking through the door, you actually hear the native sacrifice song in the sound effect. Like, it does this really odd blend where you hear the song in the sounds of Kong punching the doors to the wall.
I never noticed that or picked up on that.
Like, it's so, if you really listen closely, like while Anne is looking around at all what remains of the Venture crew.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, that's actually
like that was a nice little. That was like a nice little detail there.
Yeah, it's a nice little touch to it. It makes. Yeah.
And then you've got, of course, when Kong does break through the wall, you know, and everyone just... And apparently, the use of chloroform is used again in this movie like it was from Kong 76, which I think is a reference to Kong 76 because they use chloroform and not a gas bomb.
What did they use in... Oh, is that what they used in the 33 film? Gas bombs?
Gas bomb, yeah. They basically used a gas grenade and to get Kong, and then in this movie in 05 they use chloroform again, and the way they capture Kong is so sad, man. Like, they drop a net on him at first, which, you know, you'd think would work, and then boom, he just gets out of the net and he just yeets like 3 or 4 people up in the air, and that whole village is solid rock. So you're dead the minute you hit the ground.
Oh yeah,
you're dead the minute.
Either that, or you're going to be fucked up for a long time after that.
Exactly, and then you've got like
with the amount of force
that Kong moves.
They were throwing, yeah, they're dead.
Yeah, exactly. And then Kong chases the Venture crew through this really short cave where, the lifeboats were at, and then just Kong, he just takes a lot. He takes a lot of damage. Like Anglehorn shoots a harpoon into his leg, and Carl literally throws a bottle of chloroform at his face.
Harpoon to the knee would hurt so fucking much.
It would. And you can just see the look.
When you bust your kneecap, it's one of the most painful experiences ever. It's like when you hit your elbow against like some sort of solid surface, and the pain just lingers for a good
however
a few hours
long.
sometimes. I imagine it would be like that tenfold
for somebody Kong's size, and you can just see you can see like the pain on his face when that happens. Like you can just see how I think there's that, and then also the fact that Carl takes a bottle of chloroform and manages to make a direct hit on Kong's face. Like he straight up throws a bottle of chloroform on Kong's face, which makes him pass out. And the thing about the Kong in this movie is the thing
that broke my heart the most was with like. Because at this point, Anne cares so deeply for Kong, and
she was crying when that was happening to him. You can see the pain on her face when they were fucking with him like this.
She was willing to stay behind so he would be okay.
Yeah, you can definitely see the way she was acting when Jack was trying to hold her back, and Anne tells him, actually says to him, let go of me. And I just so can't believe, like, you can just see, the thing about this version of Kong is, you can tell that he has been through a lot in his life. Like, this Kong is covered in scars.
You've seen the scars, man.
The scars on him, and also his bottom jaw's crooked. Like, you can tell he's been beat in the head so many times, like, his bottom jaw's a little crooked.
And there's something up with his right eye as well. It kind of looks like it's, how do you call it? I'm not really good with, when it comes to, like, describing a physical appearance or, like, a deformity, I'm not really good with the words. So there's something, you've got a fucked up eye as well, on his right eye.
Yeah, and you can just see, like, this Kong has been through, like, growing up probably. You can just see all the fights that this animal has had to go through, and then he gets knocked out by humans. Like, he gets literally knocked out by humans, and, he's never experienced, the most sharp thing he experienced is something's claw, probably, not a harpoon going in your leg. Not a harpoon going in your leg, and he's never felt what chloroform, he don't know what chloroform is, so the fact that this little thing hits him in the face, and then he just starts, like, falling asleep. Then he just starts going to sleep. And then, after Kong is knocked out...
Kong in this film, he's 120 plus years old, so he's been...
Wait, did they actually say he's 100 years old?
Well, they said he's somewhere between 120 to 150, so...
Jesus Christ. And I thought Galapagos tortoises and crocodiles live over 100 years. Jesus.
Actually, weird fact about crocodiles, apparently, like, they're immortal or some shit. Like the longest we've known them to live to is, like, 100 plus.
Yeah.
Like, 100 to 120, or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say 110, because I think it just means right in the middle. And apparently scientists have found out, and it could be just a rumour, because, the internet is so full of shit nowadays. I don't really know what to believe, so this could just be...
There's some kind of rumour.
Yeah, it could be something that might be debunked in, like, a few more days or something from now. So... But yeah, apparently it's like they die on their own accord, not naturally. They just die when they want to die. And the truth is, we don't really know how long crocodiles live to.
Yeah, exactly. Because whenever people see them, it's always, in the water. It's always in the water, and you hardly ever see them when they attack. So yeah, we don't really know much about. And you said Kong in this movie is like 120, really?
120 to 150.
Like, and you
so
can.
This film is set in 1933.
Yeah, it's set in the year 1933.
He would have been born sometime in the 1700s.
Yeah, and then after you see Kong pass out, and then Carl Denham says the famous Kong the Eighth Wonder of the World line. Like, he does that, and honestly, I gotta ask you this, who said it better, like, when it came to that little bit of dialogue? Who do you think said that better, Robert Armstrong or Jack Black?
I prefer them both. They
do have their own unique thing on it.
I'm gonna say Robert Armstrong, because it's more of a
impactful.
It's more of a classic way of doing it, you know.
And it kind of felt a little more like impactful. Okay, so as we were saying about Kong getting fucked up, Kong getting. Wow, that was dark. I'm sorry. He's supposed to be a sympathetic character.
Very emotionally captured,
and where we leave off with this one is
yes.
And where we leave off with this one is after Carl Denham says Kong the Eighth Wonder of the World, and Kong is just laying there in the water, passed out after taking chloroform and an arrow to the knee, like it said. You know, he took an arrow to the... Like, Kong can look...
A harpoon! I think it's a harpoon.
Yeah, he took a harpoon to the leg.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy, like, when he's passing out, you can see how he's reaching for Anne. I think that was, like, the most heartbreaking...
That moment is enough to make even the hardest of men tear up. Just the way he reaches out his arm to her. It's so heartbreaking. I hate that part.
It really is. Like, you know, Kong has always been a sympathetic character, but this movie really makes it a little more sympathetic. Like, this feels more sympathetic than the De Laurentiis movies, actually.
Oh yeah.
This is more. I mean, the De Laurentiis Kong. You know, you do feel sorry for that version, but this one. Like, everything emotional, everything Skull Island, everything in this second chunk is just cranked up to 11 right here. It's like Peter Jackson really just said, like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna pretty much top all y'all. But not the original.
It really does tug your heartstrings. Just like, that's something that I've never been able to get that out of my mind ever since I've seen that scene. Just him reaching out to Anne while he's, you know, losing consciousness, and it just breaks my heart.
And then, yeah, I will admit, that is a very... Hell, it's actually, I can't really think of a more heartbreaking bit when it comes to Kong. You know, pretty much every scene with him has been emotional. I mean, the De Laurentiis movies, yeah. I keep comparing this to the De Laurentiis Kong because that Kong was very emotional. Like, that Kong was very emotional, and so is 05 here. And now we end this review with Jack Black saying the famous Kong the Eighth Wonder of the World line before the movie fades to black. So, I hope you all enjoyed this long as hell review, like a lot of our other Kong reviews. So please be sure to follow my boy Jurassic World Monsterverse 2 on Instagram. The link to his Instagram will be in the description below. And also come follow me at LizardMan2021. Also, please be sure to like, share, and consider subscribing. So this is Tim W. Rago and
Jurassic World Monsterverse. Peace out, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yep, see you all in whatever next review we decide to do next.